I have to read you a post because I'm in all of these mom groups on Facebook, and I don't know why I do it to myself. Ugh, sometimes it's like watching a train wreck, and I don't know how to save all the people.
Okay, but why did you join these specific groups to begin with? Was it I know you're a mom and you have 2 boys, but was it to connect with people in your area? How do you get sucked into these mom groups? I'm asking because I'm not a mom and I was never in any of them. I did join a few of them, like, around this time last year because a friend of mine said, "You should be coaching young women. You need to get into these mom groups and start responding and interacting." And so I did, and then I quickly was like, "Cannot do it." And the anonymous
You
posts are
don't know
so
you moms loving the Facebook groups.
the anonymous posting, I don't understand. It's like I get it, but also I don't because I get it because if you just really need to talk to somebody and you just are scared, whatever the topic may be, it's nice to have that option. But then I don't think if you're, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about anonymous posting and responding and the anonymous part because I feel like that almost adds an element of you can say whatever you want then. And then it can turn ugly, I feel like quick.
Yeah, I think you're right. When it is anonymous, it does get ugly, and I think that's what's challenging for me, and maybe I don't know what my intention was to be a part of it in the first place, but maybe along those lines. Um, as far as, okay, maybe I can offer something, maybe I can see what's going on in the community, I don't know. But this is the perfect example, and so this is a case where I think posting anonymous makes sense, and then I'll read a response that specifically had to do with my response, where in that case, the anonymity is doing exactly what you said. It was hiding behind this mask to, in some cases, almost attack the other mom.
Okay. Yeah, I don't like that.
Okay, so anonymous poster number 1. I need some advice. I'm obviously still attracted to my partner and appreciate what he does, but I can tell our relationship has more bumpier moments now, and I'm at a loss on what to do. Our intimate side of the relationship has withered away on my end. We have 2 children, and I assumed with them being close in age, it's just the postpartum stuff making it so I'm not wanting anything intimate. I can tell it frustrates my partner, and we've had multiple talks about it. I have even talked to my doctor about it, asking, "Is there something wrong with me?" I have been able to get quote unquote in the mood a little more often, but it's still about once every 2 weeks. I can tell it's putting a strain on our relationship, and I don't know what more to do. If I'm not in the mood, my partner will just say, "Okay," and roll over and go to bed frustrated. Or he always says, "You're never in the mood anyways." Things like, "I don't want to initiate it anymore because I always get shut down." It's not that I don't want to do stuff. It's just I can't get my body ready anymore. I'm still young and should be able to do these things. And I feel like I'm the one who's going to ruin the relationship if this continues much longer, since it's been this way for a while. Any moms have experienced this and can give me some advice.
Ooh, that is so much. I have goosebumps because there's so much there.
Yes. And she was so clear, and she's already been working on this, and it's a clear ask for help and camaraderie, and tell me I'm not alone.
Yeah, because really all we want is to be seen and heard and understood
Exactly.
and to feel like we're not alone.
Exactly. And then and then it's like seeming so big to her, but she's still in the mood and she still does it every couple weeks, and her partner is now throwing this stuff in her face. That's not enough, so I'm not even gonna try, and it makes you feel for her, right?
Yeah, because she even said in that post, I don't know how to get my body ready. Well, babe, it's actually not your responsibility to get your body ready. We're not light switches that can be turned on and off. That is the huge difference between men and women. We don't just have a thought and yes, we want to have sex.
Oh my gosh. I know. And this is okay. You know who taught me this? The Libido Fairy. Do you follow her on Instagram?
I do follow her and she's so helpful. So tell us.
Okay, so everyone should follow her, and this is the advice I gave. But let me backtrack because then the problem isn't okay, this woman is asking for help anonymously because this is a sensitive issue, but it's all the comments because there's 35 comments and it's you should just do it so he doesn't look in other places for it. Or why don't you just pleasure him even though it's not pleasuring you so he doesn't not want to be with you. These comments, I'm like, wait, hold on. This is the advice that multiple, not just one or two, I'm talking at least 10 have this advice of it doesn't matter. You better just do it or he's going to leave you.
Wow.
I know.
Imagine being in a vulnerable position as this woman who is crying out for help to a community of women, and a third of them are telling you basically, suck it up, buttercup, and put out or get out.
It's so sad.
It is really sad because if your person doesn't understand what you're going through because you don't feel comfortable enough to talk to them about it, and when you do try to express it in little ways and they shut you down, it doesn't make it easier on the relationship. And I don't think men realize how demanding they are, how much we actually do as women for them every single day in day-to-day activities. And it sounds like she's got kids. So I can't imagine because I don't even have kids and I still have trouble prepare my body for my husband.
Exactly. And we all go through this. So her feeling this and you even not being a mom and from your perspective, just being a woman in your early 40s, it's so normal, but people aren't talking about it.
Yeah.
And so can I read you my response?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I said, just do it? Question mark. See how you can just pleasure him? Question mark. I can't believe I'm reading some of these answers. Mind blown emoji. Okay. So I started out a little like WTF, right?
Fired up.
Okay. Okay. Because that was just my initial reaction. Like, wow, I'm just really shocked that I'm reading this over and over and over again. I said, if you're on Instagram, you should all follow the Libido Fairy. We'll tag her in our comments because everyone should just follow her. She's amazing. I say, she tells a lot about the different turn-on types. Most of us actually mean to be sensually activated versus just, quote, wanting it. She also shares a lot about how to talk about it with your partners. As a couple, you are a team and it should be an open conversation versus this whole, it's your responsibility as a wife, even if you aren't into it, BS. As a mom with young kids, it's super relatable to be touched out and like sex is the last thing on your mind when you're tired. Because of being open about it, my partner now knows I need to get put in the mood slowly with no obligation in regards to the outcome. So he'll ask if I want a massage, no strings attached. And so far, 10 out of 10 times after that physical touch, I'm super into the rest. Plus, I get a massage out of the deal. Now, there's no pressure around it because I'm comfortable talking about all of it and bringing him in on where I'm at with it all and sharing what I learned from that woman's Instagram. Her name is Hannah. I find myself even asking for it sometimes, but usually it's in the morning or in the afternoon. Let's just call it a fancy nap. Smiley face emoji.
I love that response because you are one completely separate and different from a third of the women that commented on that, which I'm sure there's way more comments on it now, right? And you're coming from a problem solving side. Instead of just saying, just do it because I said so, you're saying, hey, so I follow this chick and it's been really helpful for me. Maybe you could try this.
Yes.
I don't think there's any better response that could have been. I will say that for me, I don't have that open line of communication as clear as you do. And it is very inspiring to hear that there are couples that can actually express themselves in this way and say, hey, I'm kind of out touched right now. I love you, but we're going to have to try some things different. And I think I have tried some of that tactic, but I could definitely be better. I found myself kind of lately, if I'm being honest, just scrolling past her stuff because I just don't want to deal with it. But to your point and to her feelings, you're not saying she's wrong. You're making her feel seen and understood, that she's not alone and that there are some ways around it. Here's a great resource.
Oh, and you reminded me there's also this gentleman on Facebook. So if anyone knows who I'm talking about, please tag him because he does it very comically. So he dresses up with a wig like his wife, and then he has him and he'll have these conversations like, "Oh, hey, wanna do it?" And she'll be like, I'm not sure, but maybe I'm down for a snuggle." And then acts it out in a comical way. And these are the kind of things that maybe, okay, sharing that with your partner and just, oh, look at this, but also the point is there.
Yeah, that's so good. Maybe that's something we can share on our Instagram page too. That way people can find it there.
Thank you. I thought, here, I feel ya, girl. Here's a
Yeah.
resource, like, whatever. And then this is what I get as a response from an anonymous member. Heather Smith. The other option is don't do it, constantly refuse, and see where that leads. It leads to resentment and separation. Okay, first of all, nothing of what I said in any of my comment. I'll just read.
Constructive anyway. Her responding to you with that isn't even constructive.
Nor what I said. I never said don't do it. Like I was talking about how important sex is, and this is how it's working in my relationship.
Right.
Okay. I think you are missing the bigger picture, where some of us are saying to do it or give him something else to satisfy him. Sometimes it's not about being turned on. Sometimes it's about being tired and burnt out on life. If doing a little something for my husband helps with his stress and he's willing to do what it takes to help with mine, then it's the least I could do.
Wait, hold on. So already she is acknowledging that her husband is doing something for her. This woman is expressing that she's not getting anything from hers. So this isn't even relevant.
And this whole underline, or you're just burnt out on life, that is so sad.
It is, but I think and I'm not a mom, but I have 2 puppies. I have one that's 12 months and one that's 12 weeks, and I can say that I feel a little burnt out sometimes and overtouched and overstimulated, and I think if you have multiple kids, I could see how you would start to be a little burnout on life, especially if you're a full-time working and you're doing the mom thing full-time. That's 2 full-time jobs that people don't talk about.
It is a full-time job, and it's the most stressful of all. They've been doing these moms are starting to, count how many times their kids say mom, and it's like 600 times a day or something crazy.
I would die.
So I don't know where I was. Seeing it from some of the women's eyes on here who get shut down by their partners when they want it, it's hurtful, and rejection makes a person not want to try. Open communication and compromise is important. I think that's all fair.
Yeah, I think she brought it around at the end, but I don't think ultimately that specific comment wasn't really relevant to you what you said.
And it made me think of something because in my past relationship from the years of 18 to 27 or whatever it was, way too long, I was on that end where I did want to do it and he didn't.
I've been in that situation before.
And I get it. And it doesn't
Good.
good, but I never felt but this kind of goes along to the gender roles we're put in because I never felt like it's his boyfriendly duty, you know?
Yeah, and those expectations, who set them? Was it society that set that? Was it something that they decided in their marriage when they first got together? Is it something that she's put on herself based on her own self-worth or what she saw growing up. There's so many questions, right? There's so many things that we are not privy to. All we have is her reaching out for help. And then many women just saying, "Hey, just do it. It's your husband. Even if you don't like it, you just got to do it." And I think that what fired you up the most about it was that you came in with a solution that wasn't saying just do it just to do it, but here's a way that you might be able to enjoy it again with him, right? Versus just, oh, please him because if you don't, he's going to find it somewhere else. Motherfucker, if you want to go find it somewhere else, be my guest. Because the
Ex
grass is greener where you water it, not where you freaking shit.
exactly, and I think that was the whole point. It's so disempowering to be like, "Oh, I won't care about my own needs. I'm just gonna do it because it's my duty," versus actually, "Okay, yeah, something's wrong with me. Is it hormones? Do I have a different turn on style? What information can I actually gather to make me feel better about this thing that I still want?" Like, we all still want it. It's just life gets in the way, or your kids want you to hold them all day long, and by the end of the night when your husband touches you, you're like, "Dude, no."
No, that's me. That's interesting about the different turn on styles because I didn't even know that was a thing. And people need, like, women don't even have the resources. These aren't even things that they can talk about with their OBGs because they're coming from medicine world. They didn't study these things. They don't teach an OBG or a gynecologist or some of these women in women health how to have a conversation with women around their sensuality and how to reconnect with themselves and how to have a deeper relationship with their womb. I went to a womb wisdom class in Bali last year. It was probably one of the most uncomfortable things that I've ever done. But when I saw it on the list of classes that they offered, I was like, I have to go to this. I don't know why, but I have to go to this. And I went, and it was this woman, and it was basically an hour and a half of her telling her story, but then us going through all of these different somatic movements and things, moving stuff out of the way. We're dancing, we're shaking, just doing all kinds of different somatic work. But it was all basically to connect to our womb. And I thought, what do we need to connect to our womb for? I didn't have any idea, but by the end of it, I was just completely in awe that I was 40 years old just learning that I should have a relationship with my womb, which, by the way, is your sacral chakra. Hello. How do we no wonder people are having blockages in their creativity and not being able to have a full conversation. If you're blocked at the very bottom of your chakra system, how are you going to be able to have conversations come out and say the things that you need and converse with your partner if you're blocked at the very bottom?
Well, and this is so awesome, and so I wanna tap into this a little bit more because, yes, your womb, obviously, we know where that's located physically, and it is tied to your sacral chakra, which is your second chakra. It's right around your root, and so when that gets out of balance, it is taking all of these energy centers down with it, and the womb is the center of creativity. This is what the sacral chakra is. And it's also very tied to your heart because if you have trauma in your womb space, your heart's going to be blocked off. And every woman, I don't care if you've had kids or not, every woman has womb trauma because giving birth, not giving birth, having miscarriages, being sexually abused, giving yourself to a man just because it's your duty. These are all traumatic imprints that we're carrying. And whether or not it happened in our lifetime here on earth right now, it sure as hell happened to our moms or her mom or our grandma or our great, 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 great grandma. Like this has happened for so long.
Oh, that also made me think of about when you're a kid. And if you were like I was, I got my freaking period at school for the first time and it was all over my pants and it was so embarrassing and it was a thing. And there's so much shame around the menstrual cycle in general. It's gross, it's dirty. It's a time of going inward, obviously, right? If you're studying the womb, the menstrual cycles and things, but there's nothing gross about it, but boys think it's gross, and so, you're not supposed to talk about it, and it just becomes this thing that we're almost innately shameful of because we've never had an experience otherwise that showed or taught us how beautiful it is that if you don't have a womb, you cannot create life. And that's life force, that's projects, that's the creation of any kind, let alone the creation of a human being.
Ugh,
How
I
can we have shame around this thing that is so magical?
I don't know, and where does that shame come from? Because when I started my period, I didn't tell my mom. I was stealing her pads and stuff. How is there so much shame that I can't even tell my mom I started my period? Where did that come from? She, of course, wasn't shaming me about it.
Yeah. I don't know. That's the thing is these are the kind of the things that I think are so important to be bringing to light though. And I know that's not how the conversation started and I'm not really sure how we got to this, but I think it's also relative because it's such an important part of who we are as women. Men do not have a womb. They will never have one. You can't just put one in someone and make them a woman. There's so much power there, and I think if we all knew just how powerful we were, it would be a different world that we lived in, and maybe it goes all the way back to not putting any of the books in the Bible that were written by females.
Oh, I know. Because this power, like women create worlds. We birth worlds, we birth humans. The entirety of existence lies in our hands. And whether or not you're a mother, you create systems, you create life, you create businesses. Like we're always creating. This is being a feminine being. This is powerful. And it was honored for so long throughout history. You mentioned even being on your period or, oh, do you remember they used to call it your rag?
Oh, yes, like, who decided that was gonna be a good name?
Okay, yeah, and we're all like, "Oh, it's disgusting. Oh, yeah, I bled through my pants. I know I bled through my pants." You'd make sure to have your sweatshirt when you're having your period so you didn't get embarrassed. But throughout history, when women were menstruating, that's when your intuition is the strongest. And I think this is such a simple reframe because even whether we feel shame about it or not,
You feel shame and you don't even realize it.
well, exactly. Or even it might be hidden. So, for instance, I used to be like, oh, I need to make sure to plan my vacation so I'm not on my period.
Oh.
And so you might have these special plans, and if you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna be on my period," like, that sucks. And maybe even these thought patterns are a clue that you might be holding shame.
Oh, that's so interesting because I've never actually gone to the extent of planning trips around it, but I had a partner who didn't care. It was like, he just didn't care. It's great. It's just weather. We're just gonna have more fun, right? And then I've also had a partner that is completely turned off, won't come anywhere near me. I can buy myself a week at a time because he's just like, I'm good. I can wait. I don't really care. I don't want to be around that. So some of how we feel comes from our partner probably too, and how they react and respond to it.
Ooh, very interesting. Yeah, period sex. I didn't know you were gonna talk about that, but hey, it's one time in your cycle, you know you're not gonna get pregnant. Doubt
Nothing is off limits here. I thought nothing was off limits.
It is interesting though, because since I've reframed this idea of, oh, actually, when we are bleeding, we are divinely connected. Our intuition is so online. We can get messages in our dreams. This is really a time of the month when we are connected to source even more than the other 3 weeks of the year. And they used to celebrate this by having they'd call them red tents. The women would congregate, whoever was menstruating, and they'd do ceremony, and they'd get messages, and they would do all these beautiful, amazing, womanly, divine creation things, and we've lost that.
That is amazing, and I did not know any of that, so I'm so glad that we're talking about it because I feel already more empowered, And interestingly enough, I just happened to be on my cycle today, and it's the first day of it. And I had so many aha moments and downloads this morning that I didn't even tie to this because I never knew.
Ooh, this is so juicy. Because you messaged me this morning, and so sometimes we'll message each other or people in our community, "Oh, hey, what's happening to you?" Because 'Cause we'll associate it with astrological events. "Yeah, I was having the craziest dreams," or "I made sense." And today I was like, "Oh, no, not really, I slept in." And so no wonder your magic today was from the bleed.
Literally, but who knew until we have these conversations? And I think that's what I'm most excited about is that we are so incredibly different, but then still so similar in so many ways that the information that we bring forth is hitting from every angle, and it's going to provide something for anyone, regardless of what level they are on, whatever their path is, if they know anything about menstrual cycles or Akashic records, or that there is even multiple people in their lineage. You guys were talking ancestral here and how it affects different people in different ways. It's really exciting.
Ugh, it is. It's so exciting. Okay, can I read you just my follow-up message, and then we'll see if any final thoughts wanna come through?
Yes, I didn't realize there was another message.
Okay. I just responded, and I was like, "I think you missed my point too. Nowhere did I say any of what you implied in your first paragraph. I know how important sex is in a relationship. That was never a question. We all know that.
Yeah.
But yes, I firmly believe as women, we should never do something out of obligation. And as good men in a healthy relationship, I believe they wouldn't expect or want us to. If you have a divine masculine man, he would honor the open communication and work to make it something you are into, not want it because it's some sort of wifely duty. I'm not here to divide any women against each other, quite the opposite, in fact, to let the women know of their inherent worthiness. If anyone's man isn't up to this level of respect and open communication, then maybe it's just something worth looking at.
And you still were not being condescending, but responding with love. I think that was an incredible response.
I hope so. I was never trying to argue or anything, but it does come down to worthiness. And I think that's maybe why it was triggering for me to hear all these women say, just do it. Basically, do it or he's going to cheat on you. I think what inside would make you have those thoughts because you're not good enough?
I think there's a sense of unworthiness, there's a sense of not good enough. I think that it also is somehow maybe modeled to us by our parents in some way, shape, or form, right? And so, depending on how they modeled it, it always goes back to the always already listening ears, right? Everybody has a different experience. And so, even though there could be tons of different people listening to this, they're all going to hear it from whatever their reality is up until this point. And then they get to decide, do they resonate? Do they not? And choose a side or don't. Do they give themselves when they don't want to or they don't? And I think it's really important to not self betray, right?
Mhm.
I think when we start to do things out of obligation, that's when things are stored in the body as traumas. I hate that word because I feel like it's so overused, but I don't know how else to explain it. It's stored in the body as different traumas. And then that's actually what causes all of these different dis-eases, right? So people are having major digestive issues. They're having a lot of breast cancer and things of that. The heart and the lungs are right beneath the breast.
Mhm.
And you said it just a few minutes ago that your womb is connected to your heart. And if we already know we have trauma in the womb, whether we realize it or not, and then we're already struggling to express ourselves because we don't trust our hearts, then and we don't even know about the chakra system because that's not part of the Bible or whatever else we studied. We didn't learn that in school. We don't have the tools readily available they're available, but they're not mainstream widespread yet. They're getting there, and people know probably some of these buzzwords that we're using, but there's so many different things to unpack. And every time you say yes when you want to say no, it's like a little scar somewhere in your body that is going to come up later at some point, and it might not be good when it does come. That is what disease is. It's the body being at dis-ease because the emotional state doesn't match the physical response.
You said something so powerful, and I have another story that'll anchor it in about how when you self-betray, you leave an imprint or you leave a scar on you kind of related it to a physical body.
Yeah.
And it's also in this energetic grid. And I think this whole energy medicine, the chakra system, all of these concepts we touch on, this is the stuff that the information is out there, but because it isn't mainstream, it's hard to piece together on your own. And this is also why I just love having these conversations with you and sharing them, because if something sparks in a listener, then they know, oh, I'm going to go look up that concept. And then there is a lot of information out there, but it takes knowing what you're looking for.
Sure.
So there's this thing we do occasionally in the Akashic Records, and it's called a soul retrieval. And it goes along with that metaphor you gave of leaving a little imprint when you say yes, but you wanted to say no. And you leave a little bit of your soul, for instance, and this can happen, of course, with big traumas. You almost think about it as dissociating. So your soul disconnects a little bit because you know it's so wrong, it's so off of what the greater purpose of existence is, that you just leave a little bit in that moment in time. And so when we do a soul retrieval, we can look at these really traumatic experiences and pull these bits of ourselves back. But what was interesting is just about a week ago, I had an Akashic session, and this woman was doing a similar process, but it wasn't with a traumatic event. It was every time she felt like she couldn't show up in her authenticity because she was worried about someone else's emotional reaction. So similar to saying yes when you want to say no, she didn't show her true happiness or what she was really excited about because someone else wasn't emotionally there. And in those moments, just like what you mentioned, she left just a droplet of herself in that moment because she couldn't show up authentically. And in the Akashic Records, we were able to recount a couple massive moments in her life that she specifically remembers, and a couple other of little ones that just showed up metaphorically. And she was able to pull them all together. She created them into this vine in her mind's eye, and she was able to reestablish that with her body, with somatic movement, tapping it in, and getting a gift in her heart chakra that would seal it all in. So I just felt like that story had to come through because it just goes to show how these things we can talk about, and they're also energetically in the grid, and we have the power to clean it up, to call it back, to become whole in ourselves through this recognition and this deep soul work.
That gave me goosebumps all down my arms. I felt my head tingle, everything when you were sharing that, because this is powerful stuff. And I didn't even know that's what Akashic Records could do until I met you and I had my own experience. But for anyone who doesn't know about these things, you have to check out what Heather is doing because she is changing lives by helping women see themselves in a different lens. It's a really beautiful way to feel seen in a way that you probably haven't experienced before, and it's very empowering. That's just my own experience, but to hear a story like that is also very empowering to know that we're not just screwed because we've been saying yes to all these times that we wanted to say no, right? There's a way to regain our power and to call it back. So I think that was completely relevant, and I love that you shared that.
Oh, yes, we do have the power. And thank you for that little plug. But because you, as in Christine, or you as in the client, or you as whatever, like you have all the answers. Your soul remembers all of these bits. And you can call it back as soon as you want.
So if I was listening right now and I was hoping to have some sort of resources or something, is that something we could share in the links in the bio? That way, if someone was interested in either finding more about you, which our information is of course always there, or maybe some other exercises or something that we might be able to share with people?
Yeah, for sure. Let's compile a list. We'll share the accounts we mentioned. We'll share maybe a personal introspection you can do. And yeah, I I love this conversation. I really hope that the listeners got something out of it and can't wait to see you again soon.